Until now, if our viewers were thinking we were speaking about like really heavy subjects, let's get into more heavier subjects. There are a lot of philosophical and social and political and economic themes across this book. Yes, this book is overall, how do I say, it'll change your life, but it's kind of a drag. So, anyway, talking about the political age that was going through during the late 19th century, early 20th century. The major movement that was going on during this period was the first wave of feminism. So, feminism actually started off from the Gilded Age onwards. And this first wave of feminism, it focused on legal rights, like having the right to vote, um, having the right to own property, which earlier women were not entitled to. So that was the first wave of feminism. And it was from these times onwards that feminism as a social, political, and economic movement really covered a lot of ground. And it was, how do I say, we were at the threshold of momentous changes which were for the good, especially when it came to women, because women were really considered physical property. They were considered as objects. They were not considered subjects. They were not considered even smart enough to have agency over their own lives. So we start off with the first wave of feminism, the suffrage movement. Then from here onwards, we went on to expand to the second wave of feminism, which was about social equality and sexual liberation. And the third wave of feminism was addressing individuality, diversity, and intersectionality. And right now, we are living in these times, we are living through the fourth wave of feminism, which is characterized by digital activism and movements like hashtag Me Too. So if we really see this Gilded Age, I mean, we get it. It was about industrialists. It was about workers being oppressed, but it was also about a lot of positive changes. Yeah, so this period was really a mixed bag. Anyone living through this period would have seen the highs and lows of, like, the highs and lows that come throughout a person's lifetime. Yeah, there were good things happening, there were bad things happening. Life was just lifing back then.
Yes, definitely. We saw, like I said, a lot of political and social change because of all of the industrial revolution. But it's just crazy how that, and again, we're going to compare it to what's going on right now with the information revolution, where it's causing everything to speed up. I mean, it is causing political and social change for better and for worse. And it's uprooting, everything. It uprooted everything that they knew. It uprooted everything that we know now. Well, getting into then marriage is a transaction versus marriage is love. I mean, and it's funny because my daughter last night was asking me what we'd read and what we were talking about in our episode today, and I tried to give her a very basic plot, and she goes, "Oh, so they married for the money?" And I said, "Yeah," but I said people have been doing that for years, for title, for money, for lands, back in the days of the old kings and queens of England. And I mean, again, there are still countries that are doing arranged marriages for money and
India.
dowry.
Yeah.
Exactly. So and the thing is like, I was thinking about it in terms of the Gilded Age and these privileged young women being forced into these marriages, either here in the States or overseas, because of their pawns of, for business and for, again, titles. But, and you feel bad for them poor little rich girls. And so it's like, well, would you rather be trapped in this gilded cage, or would you rather be the other end of the spectrum, where if you didn't have money, again, if you were, there were the haves and the have-nots. If you were one of the have-nots, you were likely a farm worker, some kind of a factory worker,
Service
or you were
worker.
a servant and you literally worked all the time.
Yeah.
You could choose who you married. I mean, if you had time to marry. So it's just dependent. It's like, what kind of chains do you want? But then again, like we talked about, if you did marry into money and you were lucky enough to survive childbirth, because back then 30% of babies did not make it. And a lot of women didn't make it either. If you were lucky to survive that, if you were lucky to survive your husband, if he passed, or if you got divorced and you ended up with money, then you had it good, but you'd have to take that chance, you know. But yes, they were
Yeah.
pawns for their family's ambitions, but it's been happening for millennia. It's been happening for thousands of years, right? And I mean, do women have much more agency nowadays? I mean, yes, we can
I
decide who to marry.
If you really think about it, I feel like every era has like a motto. I would say the earlier era, the motto of being married was money. Now the motto of marriage is being in love and being in romantic love, like forever and ever with the same person. And yeah, like entering into matrimony with like only the backing of love. I think this is like just the vibe of our era. And later on, there'll be some other vibe.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
yeah, and like it just depends if you fall victim to the whatever, to the vibe of your era.
Well, and I have to say, on a personal note, having been married and divorced, married for love and divorced for love, I mean, you know, having more money would be nice. I hate to say it because even nowadays we can choose who to marry, but women make less money than men. The brunt of if you have children and you're divorced, usually, not always, but usually the working full time and taking care of the children is still usually on the divorced women because you got to keep a roof over your head. You're not always getting child support. You're not, I mean,
Mhm.
unless you are divorcing like some American celebrity or American sports star that you can get thousands of dollars in child support and alimony a month. It's not always typical that there's split custody. So it's still women working full time, usually raising more than one child. You know how it is in the States. You raising, say, average 2 to 3 kids. They go to their dads on the weekends. You're lucky if the dad pays child support. You're lucky if the dad covers their health insurance. I mean, just speaking personally, I have a great situation, so I can't talk, but I have friends and I see other people all the time. Women get the short end of the stick. So,
Mhm.
long way to a short point.
So we are still
Maybe
poor.
it is better to
Everybody is a.
marry for money, because at least you can get more money in the divorce and your children are better taken care of if you have children.
So then at the end of
So,
the day, marriage should be transactional.
yeah, I do. I absolutely do think so. I think that, well, I mean, you and we follow some people on Instagram. We think now dating should be transactional. You know what I mean? Like, you want to date? I need you to Venmo me $1,000. There's nothing wrong with that because women still always get the short end of the stick. You know what I mean? And just because a man takes you on a date, they shouldn't expect anything up to a certain point. Women, what did she say? What did the sunflower say? Like, give me property, give me land,
Yeah.
give me a title, give me, if I'm going to marry you, I need to get something out of it. And honestly, I get that, especially nowadays where we have this, there are more people that don't have a lot of money and that are left almost destitute, that are living paycheck to paycheck. It is worse if you're a woman because we're already, at least in this country, we're already making less than men make on average. So that's my feminist soapbox. Or don't get married. Or if you do it for money. I mean, it's great to like someone. I think honestly, the people that I see that are still married, I mean, there are some my age that are, and I'm again like not that old, but the people that I've seen like their parents are still married is because they're either best friends, they tolerate each other, or it's just because of like religious and social expectations. You just stay together and they're very unhappy. So you're real lucky if you can stay best friends. And I mean, a lot of those too, they don't even share a bedroom, which I will say I think is the best idea ever. I think this is just me, but some people say, oh no,
No,
you have to sleep in
separate
the same
house.
bed forever and ever. Separate houses. Oh my gosh. That would be amazing. Yes. And that's what I think that we should do. Like Helena Bonham Carter did when she and Tim Burton were married. They
Or
had
even Frida
in
Kahlo
London.
with her husband.
Yeah,
They had a bridge in the middle of
exactly.
their house.
Yeah. Absence makes the heart grow fonder. And there are people there are some couples where they don't even live in the same city or the same state, but they make it work and they do what they do. and they're still sharing finances, and they're sharing each other's company. Some of the best marriage advice I ever got was in my early 20s when I was dating a guy, and his grandparents were fairly wealthy because of his grandfather, his company that the grandfather had built. And we'd go to his grandparents' like big house and visit his grandmother, and his grandfather often wasn't there. And she said, Katie, you know what? The best advice for marriage I can give you, she said, is marry someone who works, who travels a lot, or you travel a lot. She goes, it's because then, you don't have to see them all the time. You don't have to deal with them all the time. You have your own time. And then you do
Yeah.
enjoy being together. And they were together till the end. They had been married probably since the two of them were like late teens, early 20s. And they passed away like not that long ago. I mean, they'd been probably into their 80s or almost 90s.
Oh
So
my God.
yeah, and that's not common anymore, at least not over here. I don't know, like, what is it over there? Like, do you see a lot of people your parents' age still married?
Yeah, because they can't get out of it. I mean, see,
Yes.
it's like by that age, you're also kind of like starting new all over. Unless things are like really bad, people are like, fine, we'll just like make it work. I mean, we made it work for so long, so we might as well drag it out a little bit more. Unless it's unbearable. So,
Yeah.
and also in India, because especially in my parents' generation, it's a lot of arranged marriages. People come with a certain, like, how do I say, they understand the circumstances of the fact that this marriage is arranged. Like, they don't expect, how do I say, they keep their expectations, I won't say limited, but they keep their expectations within a framework. And the framework being that this is not arising out of some, romantic love where you are going to be self sacrificing and you're going to do everything for your partner and you're going to put them before yourself forever and ever. These kind of idealistic ideas are not there in arranged marriages. Arranged marriages are there for creating a family unit, and that unit being together because it's healthy to like have a family unit, I suppose. And yeah, it's not based on idealism. So that's why I think in my parents' generation, people just stick it out because they're like, fine, whatever.
I mean, honestly, as long as it's like not bad like instances of like domestic abuse, honestly, I wouldn't knock arranged marriages at all because of the points you just brought up. You have certain expectations, but you don't have a lot of expectations. You don't have, the bar is low. And from what I've heard, a lot of times, you grow to love each other. You grow to become best friends
And
because you're
also
having to, yeah.
because the like I told you, it's like during my parents' time, it wasn't the era of falling in love in order to get into marriage. It was still like it was the whole arranged concept in itself was also a big financial transaction. You would choose a husband for your daughter who had secure employment, who had good prospects, who was young and considerably good looking. There were criteria and like very strict criterias when it comes to arranged marriages. Like you
Mhm.
get down to brass tacks of how much is this person's salary, whether he'll be able to afford. Do the parents have to pitch in for something? How much do his parents earn? And does he benefit out of it? So it's like I told you, it's the framework is completely different of what you expect. So you will expect your husband to be a financial provider if you are looking after, like, say, the household. So the division of labor is like very clear. And I think Gen Xers, like my parents, they've had to like work hard even in corporate life. So I feel it's kind of like been equal stress, whether you're
Mhm.
taking care of the household or whether you're in the corporate world. Like the long hours and the constant travel and the demands of just corporate life. I mean, fine, you are sitting in a chair, but it fries your brain if you're working for like 8 to 10 hours, 12 hours in a day. So, yeah, the framework was completely different. And because the framework is completely different, your expectations are getting fulfilled because, fine, you wanted someone who has financial security, who's able to, like, say in the upper class, the upper 10% of the population, you're able to, like, afford nice things and be comfortable, not be like super affluent, but be comfortable. So, those expectations are met. It's just the framework of it being more contractual than the concept of love looks, because love is supposed to be like Like I told you, sacrificing.
It is, and love sucks. It's hard, and rarely does
Yeah.
love last. And that's what I'm so glad I've learned in my time. You know, my relationships and my marriage and divorce, and another being in another long term major relationship now. You know, shit gets real. It's not rainbows and ponies and roses. And
Yeah.
I really think that young people, we need to stop filling young people's heads with all these romantic notions and all these like romantic movies. You can have that, but I really feel like Disney and Hollywood has, at least in the States, has really messed with our heads. You know, it's not like The Notebook. It's not always like, and even they had their problems. It's just, or you never get to see what happens after the happy ending, right? And I know that sounds, you know, that's very
I don't know how to
like,
explain it, but this book is like a very clear downer.
oh, it is, but it's good. It opens up a lot of these, I mean, all these conversations.
Yeah, that's true. Like I will say it
Yeah.
opens a lot of doors to and a lot of tangents to go into, but this book kind of makes me realize I was watching Wednesday, season 1 of Wednesday, and she was like thinking in her mind that I believe life is something that has to be endured. And I feel this whole book is telling me about the fact that life has to be endured. Whether you're wealthy, whether you're poor. Yeah, human life just sucks. this book
It's true.
this book makes me feel very existential in nature.
Yeah.
Like
And then how do you feel is like,
in a
huh?
hopeless way and a humorous way. Yeah, I'm kind of like I don't know. I'm laughing at it, but I'm also like I also think it's a downer.
Well, and I think too, it makes, if you think of things like that, it's not the worst, because I think people should really stop living, you know, in the future. A lot of people live by, and this is me as well. This was me, oh, I'll be happy when I get this. I'll be happy when I achieve this. I'll be happy when I do this. And it's like, you have to live in the moment and enjoy the moments, because that's what life is all about. It doesn't
Yeah.
mean it could end at any time, but it's life. You born and you have a good time as a kid because you have no idea what's going on. And then you're thrown into adulthood and paying bills and keeping a roof over your head and relationships if you're into that, and kids if you're into that. And then you die, and then, you know, some of us believe you have to come back and do it all over again. So that's what this book is. It's good. Awesome.